The first time I noticed something was wrong wasn't when I saw them together. It was earlier. Much earlier. It was in the way my husband started laughing at jokes I never told.
Before we begin this intriguing story, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like this video, so you don't miss more powerful and emotional life stories like this one. Enjoy the story.
My name is Elena. I'm 34. And for most of my life, I believed one simple thing. Family is the safest place you can ever be. I had a younger sister, Anna. We were close. Not just talk sometimes, close. We were the kind of sisters who shared everything. Clothes. Secrets. Plans. Dreams. When my parents divorced, we had each other. When I got married, she stood next to me as my maid of honor. She cried more than I did. At the time, I thought it was love. Now I know. It was something else. My husband, Daniel, was the kind of man people trusted instantly. Calm. Polite. Reliable. The kind who remembered birthdays. The kind who fixed things without being asked. The kind who made you feel safe. And for 6 years, he was exactly that. My safe place. Anna started coming over more often about a year ago. At first, it felt natural. She's family, Daniel would say. And I agreed. Why wouldn't I? We had dinners together. Movie nights. Lazy Sundays. The three of us laughing in the kitchen. And if you had asked me then, I would have said my life was perfect. But then small things started to shift. Things that didn't make sense. Daniel started staying up later. On his phone. Smiling. When I asked, he'd say, just work. Anna started canceling plans with me. But somehow, she always had time to come over when Daniel was home. One night, I walked into the living room unexpectedly. They were sitting on the couch. Too close. Not touching. But close enough that the air between them felt wrong. They both looked up at the same time. And the way they pulled apart wasn't fast. It was careful. Controlled. Like they had practiced not looking guilty. What are you guys doing? I asked. Just talking, Anna said quickly. Too quickly. Daniel smiled. About you, actually. That should have felt good. It didn't. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I had proof. But because I had something worse. A feeling. You can ignore a lot of things. But you can't ignore the moment your instincts start whispering. Something is not right. A week later, I found the first real sign. Daniel was in the shower. His phone buzzed. Once. Twice. 3 times. I wasn't the type to check his phone. I never had been. But something about the way it kept buzzing pulled me in. I picked it up. Unlocked it. And saw the name. Anna. My heart didn't drop. It didn't race. It just slowed. Like everything inside me went quiet. I opened the messages. And the first thing I saw was, she almost noticed yesterday. My hands went cold. I scrolled. You need to be more careful. I know. I just wanted to sit next to you. Not when she's around. I miss you. I stopped breathing. And then. The message that changed everything. Soon we won't have to hide anymore. The bathroom door opened. I dropped the phone. Stepped back. Tried to look normal. Daniel walked out, drying his hair. Everything okay? He asked. I looked at him. At the man I loved. At the man I trusted. At the man who was texting my sister behind my back. And I smiled. Yeah, I said. Everything's fine. That was the moment everything changed. Not when I found out. Not when I read the messages. But when I decided. I wasn't going to confront them. Not yet. Because if they thought I didn't know, then I had time. And I was going to use it. I didn't confront them. That's the part most people don't understand. They think the moment you find out, you explode. You cry. You scream. You demand answers. But I didn't. Because the second I read those messages, I realized something important. They weren't afraid of hurting me. They were afraid of being caught. And that meant one thing. They were careful. And careful people don't make mistakes unless you give them space to. So I did the opposite of what they expected. I acted normal. The next morning, I made breakfast. Coffee. Eggs. Toast. The same routine we had followed for years. Daniel sat across from me, scrolling through his phone. Relaxed. Comfortable. Like nothing had changed. Anna's coming over later, he said casually. Of course she was. I smiled. That's nice. I haven't seen her much this week. Lie. I had seen enough. When she arrived that evening, I hugged her. Tightly. Longer than usual. She hesitated for just a second. Barely noticeable. But I felt it. Missed you, I said. Another lie. I missed you too, she replied. And just like that, we all started pretending. Dinner felt surreal. The three of us sitting at the table like always. Laughing. Talking. Passing plates. But now I saw everything differently. The way his eyes flicked toward her. The way she avoided looking at me for too long. The pauses. The micro-expressions. The tension hidden under normal conversation. It was all there. And I had been blind to it. At one point, Daniel stood up to grab more water. Anna leaned slightly toward me. So, how are things between you two? She asked. The question caught me off guard. Not because of what it meant. But because of how calm she sounded. How do you mean? I asked. She shrugged. I don't know. You just seem distant lately. Distant. I almost laughed. You're imagining things, I said softly. She nodded. But I saw it. Relief. That's when I understood something even darker. They weren't just hiding it from me. They were watching me. Measuring what I noticed. Testing how much I suspected. That night, after she left, Daniel came to bed late. Again. He slipped in quietly, thinking I was asleep. But I wasn't. I never was anymore. His phone lit up in the darkness. A message. I didn't need to see it. I already knew who it was from. He turned away from me slightly. Just enough. And started typing. That was when I made my decision. Not emotional. Not impulsive. Strategic. If they were going to lie to me, then I was going to let them. But on my terms. The next day, I called someone. Not a friend. Not family. Someone who didn't know Daniel. Someone who didn't know Anna. Someone who wouldn't hesitate. A private investigator. I think my husband is cheating on me, I said. There was a pause on the other end. Do you want proof? He asked. I looked out the window. Watched the city move like nothing had changed. Yes, I said. But not just that. Another pause. Then. What else? I took a breath. Slow. Controlled. I want everything. The next 2 weeks were quiet. Too quiet. Daniel was attentive. Careful. Almost perfect. Anna visited less. But texted more. I could feel the distance shift between them. Not disappearing, just adapting. And then the first report came in. Photos. Time-stamped. Clear. Undeniable. Hotel entrances. Car rides. Hidden moments that weren't hidden at all once you knew where to look. But that wasn't the part that changed everything. It was the pattern. They didn't just meet randomly. They planned. Regularly. Carefully. Like a routine. And then. The detail that made my stomach drop. They weren't just meeting in secret. They were looking at apartments. Together. I stared at the photos. At them standing side by side. Pointing. Discussing. Smiling. Planning a life. Without me. That should have broken me. And maybe, a part of me did break. Quietly. Deep inside. But the rest of me? The part that was watching. Learning. Waiting. That part became something else. Stronger. Colder. Clearer. Because now I knew the truth. Not just what they were doing. But where it was going. They weren't just betraying me. They were replacing me. And the worst part? They thought I would never see it coming. They were wrong. By the time I received the full report, I already knew what I was going to do. Not emotionally. Not out of anger. But with precision. Most people think revenge is loud. Explosive. Messy. But real control? Is quiet. Invisible. Unavoidable. I didn't confront them. Not yet. Because the moment you show your hand, you lose your advantage. And I wasn't ready to lose. Instead, I became better. Better at listening. Better at noticing. Better at pretending. One night, Daniel sat next to me on the couch. Closer than usual. His arm resting lightly behind me. Comfortable. Familiar. Fake. We should take a trip, he said. I turned slightly. A trip? Yeah, he smiled. Just us. It's been a while. I looked at him. Really looked. And for a second, I almost admired it. How well he played the role. Where would we go? I asked. Somewhere warm, he said. Relax. Reset. Reset. That word stayed with me. Because he wasn't trying to fix anything. He was trying to finish something. That same night, I checked his email. Not out of curiosity. Out of confirmation. And there it was. A booking. 2 tickets. Same destination. Same dates. But not for us. His name. And hers. I sat there in the dark, staring at the screen. Reading it again. And again. Not because I didn't understand. But because I did. They weren't just planning a life together. They were planning their exit. And I was just a step in the process. The next morning, I called my lawyer. This time, not just for advice. For action. I need to move everything, I said. There was a pause. What do you mean everything? I looked around the house. The house I built. The life I funded. The future they thought they were taking. My accounts. My shares. The property titles. Another pause. Then his tone shifted. Serious. Are you sure? Yes, I said. No delays. No warnings. And just like that. It began. Over the next few days, everything changed. Quietly. Legally. Irreversibly. Accounts were transferred. Ownership structures updated. Access revoked. Not dramatically. Not in a way he would notice immediately. But enough. Enough that when the moment came, there would be nothing left for them to take. Then I did something even simpler. Something almost small. I stopped trying. No more questions. No more checking. No more waiting. I became easy. Predictable. Trusting. Exactly what they needed me to be. A week later, Anna came over again. This time, she seemed lighter. More relaxed. Like the tension was gone. Because in her mind, they were almost free. We sat in the kitchen. Just the two of us. Daniel was late. Of course he was. You look happy, I said casually. She smiled. I guess I am. There it was. Not guilt. Not hesitation. Just honesty. Good, I said softly. I'm glad. She looked at me for a moment. Longer than usual. Like she was trying to understand something. You've been different, she said. Again. I smiled. Maybe I just stopped worrying about things I can't control. She nodded slowly. But I saw it. A flicker of something. Doubt. Good. Because that's when I knew. It was time. The next evening, Daniel came home with the folder. Again. Hey, he said. We need to finalize a few things. Of course we did. I sat down. Looked at the papers. Then at him. Are you sure this is everything? I asked. He smiled. Confident. Certain. Yeah, he said. This is it. I picked up the pen. Paused. Just long enough. Then signed. And this time, he didn't notice the difference. Because the real documents had already been executed. Days ago. What he was holding now was nothing. And he had no idea. The collapse didn't happen immediately. That's the thing about plans like theirs. They don't fall apart all at once. They unravel. Slowly. Piece by piece. Until there's nothing left to hold on to. 3 days after I signed the documents, Daniel left. Just like that. No argument. No explanation. Just a suitcase by the door. I think we both know this isn't working anymore, he said. Calm. Controlled. Almost rehearsed. I stood in the hallway. Looking at him. At the man who thought he had already won. You're leaving? I asked. Soft. Neutral. He nodded. It's better this way. Better. For him. For them. For the life they had already built behind my back. And Anna? I asked. A pause. Small. But real. She's part of this, he said carefully. Of course she was. I nodded slowly. Like I understood. Like I accepted it. Okay, I said. That was it. No tears. No shouting. No scene. And I think that confused him more than anything. Because he expected something. Pain. Desperation. Reaction. But I gave him nothing. He left that morning. And by evening, they were already together. Publicly. Photos appeared online. Subtle at first. Then less subtle. A dinner. A trip. A new beginning. Comments flooded in. Finally. You two look so happy. Should have happened sooner. I watched it all. Quietly. Not because it hurt. But because it confirmed one thing. They truly believed they had won. 2 weeks later. Everything began to break. It started with a call. Not to me. To him. Then another. And another. Accounts. Access. Ownership. Denied. The apartment they had chosen? Not available anymore. The payment never went through. The joint account? Frozen. Under review. The business assets? Not his. Never were. Because legally, everything had already been moved. To me. And locked. By the time he realized what was happening, it was too late. He called me that night. For the first time since he left. I let it ring. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then I answered. Elena, he said quickly. Something in his voice had changed. No more control. No more certainty. What did you do? I almost smiled. I protected myself, I said calmly. Silence. You transferred everything, he said. Not a question. A realization. Yes. You knew? I paused. Just long enough. Long enough. He exhaled sharply. Frustration. Panic. Regret. This isn't fair, he said. That word. Fair. I leaned back slightly. You were going to take everything from me, I said. Without telling me. Silence. Then. That's not how it was. Don't, I cut in. Soft. But final. Because we both knew. Exactly how it was. And Anna? I asked. Another pause. Longer this time. She didn't know everything, he said. Of course. Now she didn't. I nodded slowly. Even though he couldn't see it. Does she know now? I asked. Silence. Then. No. I almost felt something. Almost. Then you should tell her, I said. And ended the call. The next day. She showed up. At my door. No confidence this time. No calm smile. No control. Just anger. And something else. Fear. You ruined everything, she said the second I opened the door. I looked at her. Really looked. My sister. Or at least. The person I used to call that. You took my husband, I said quietly. Her expression twisted. He chose me, she snapped. I shook my head slightly. No, I said. He chose himself. Silence. And you thought that meant he chose you too? That hit. I saw it in her eyes. That crack. That moment where reality breaks through. You did this on purpose, she said. Yes. No denial. No hesitation. Why? She asked. I stepped back slightly. Let the silence sit between us. Because you both thought I wouldn't see it, I said. She stared at me. Speechless. And because, I added softly. You forgot one thing. What? She whispered. I held her gaze. Calm. Clear. I built everything you tried to take. Silence. And I knew how to protect it. She didn't say anything after that. Because there was nothing left to say. She lost. Not just the money. Not just the life they planned. But the illusion. The belief that betrayal leads to something better. Because it doesn't. It just leaves you standing in the ruins of something you destroyed. And realizing. There's nothing left to take. Betrayal doesn't make you stronger. It just reveals who was weak enough to choose it. And in the end, the person who walks away with everything is the one who saw the truth and didn't look away.